Okay, great. So I'm glad you could all join us um, again for the next meeting. Um, so as per usual, my role will be taking the meeting notes and meeting questions if needed. Just a reminder to put yourself on mute. Um, and the meeting notes and the recording should be uploaded soon after our call has ended. So our facilitator today will be Mirko, so I'll pass it over to him to start the meeting. Thank you again, Mirko.
No problem. Thank you, Philson. Can I also have confirmation that everyone can hear me? All right. Okay, at least there's some yeses. So, to start this meeting off, I hope everyone has access to the agenda. Either they can access that through the COP or through their email that Philson sent out. We're going to be using the agenda. I think it'll help in structure in this meeting. So I hope everyone has access to that. Just a quick review of the agenda. We're going to do what we've done in the past. Do a quick recap. Okay, perfect. I assume Philson provided the link there. We're going to do a quick recap from all the hubs regarding the Innovation Fund and the steps that we've all taken and issues that have arisen. I think most hubs at this point are focusing on either the selection process or the accelerator workshop. But if that's not the case with you, that's fine. If you look at the agenda, I've also added small sections for each hub that were kind of follow-up points from the last meeting. I just gleaned these from the notes that Philson typed up, the minutes. So these are just helpful bullet points maybe that you can also focus on or give a little bit more of a follow-up on that I think we had questions from last week. If you don't have anything, don't worry about it. So with that, in the past, we also had an issue where we didn't know who would go next for the, in sharing your progress update. And so to kind of circumvent that problem, I have a list of all the hubs present, and I will start first representing Zanzibar. And I think the idea is that if we have someone present from that hub, that person will, following the list, will then present their updates regarding the IF progress update. So before I get into that, any quick questions? Don't see anything pop up. Okay, here Helen's writing quickly. Okay, I will go forward then with my progress update from Zanzibar. So in Zanzibar, let me get that up. We had both the selection committee met, and they did their selection process, and we had our accelerator workshop last week. We did a full week from Monday to Friday. In regards to the selection process, it went in one day. It did have some issues. One of the things stressed in our last meeting was keeping documentation of the selection process, how the selection committee made their decision, the notes they took. And I think we had a volunteer present at the selection process meeting, even though the meeting was probably in Swahili and English, and here would have just spoken English. But they took some very thorough notes, which I've had a chance to review, and I think was really helpful for us to get an insight on the selection committee process. We also got a lot of good feedback that I'm probably going to share on on another document that we'll talk about later, the application process feedback document, for those who are familiar with that. But some issues we ran into, just to give you a little bit of a thing. Our applications were all over the place. There was no set format in terms of how the applications should be submitted by the students, or at least we did give a little bit of a format, but we don't think that was followed. Also, on the selection committee day where they were supposed to decide and go through the applications. The applications weren't really organized in a manner that was kind of easily processed by the selection committee. So they first had to spend a couple hours organizing. So I think that's something that we can definitely take away this time and improve for next time. A question. I don't think, is Christine here yet, or is she still? Are we still waiting for her? If not, maybe I'll broach it again at the end. But a question that we had from our hub network in terms of the selection committee was, okay, I'll just share it with you then. Is it possible for failed applications to be reviewed by partnership organizations that have committed to be in the hub network for possible funding from them? I think that's something that will be interesting to have a follow-up on from Ottawa or the representative. If anyone has any suggestions or ideas, they're welcome to say that as well. And then I'll just go now quickly into the accelerator workshop. Our accelerator workshop happened about 4 days after our selection committee process. And in my opinion, this was too short. We were scrambling to get our accelerator workshop in place. We did have a separate venue. And we were able to find somebody to facilitate that, an outside, I guess we outsourced to a local in Tanzania, and they were able to give a good workshop. An issue that I saw with the workshop is that I didn't really see much difference between our business plan workshop and our financial plan workshop, kind of pre-application deadline, and our accelerator workshop. They were both heavily based on the application. There was obviously much more detail, and it was really helpful on that front. But to me, I was a little bit confused on what was really separating these two workshops as it kind of unfolded in Zanzibar. I'd be curious to see how everyone else's workshops folded out. But I think that is kind of everything at a quick glance for me. Hold on here. So from Noah wrote, we have the same question. What can we do with projects who did not pass our selection but still have interest in pursuing an entrepreneurship? We can pass them on to partner organizations or other organizations working with youth entrepreneurs. Yeah, I mean, I think we probably need to get some input from Christine on this. An issue I kind of had with it, well, kind of the same question as, who was that? Just looking at the agenda. One of the hubs had a concern about security, right? And the security issues with certain information on the applications. I could see that also being an issue with sharing the applications for other entities. Yeah, confidentiality, right? So the way that I kind of thought, well, I think for those, we can maybe frame it for those applicants who are interested, and for those partnership organizations or other organizations that are interested, maybe we can connect them, right? In terms of saying, well, you've handed in this application to us, but you were not able to get funding from us, but here's some other sources that we suggest you visit, right? Maybe you can explain your business plan to them. I think that's probably the simplest way of going about that, but maybe when it's your turn, or we can approach that again at the end with Christine's input.
I'm here now.
Okay, perfect.
You want me to speak to that quickly?
Yeah, sure, if you could.
Hi, everyone. Thanks again for taking your time to meet this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, or I guess even evening for some of you. I would say, I mean, we haven't made a definitive call on this because, well, we just haven't really thought through the entire process in that way. But I think what you're saying is the best approach, because the original intention of the hubs was really also to create a space where we could connect youth to other services. Like, we can't be the be-all, end-all for young people, and some youth need different supports than other youth. So how can the hub find ways? And that was sort of the intention behind the hub network as well, is like, how can we reach out within the community and make these connections so that youth actually know what services exist in their community for them? And so that could be something, I don't know how well developed that is at each hub, or if it is or it isn't, but if you have an interest in that and maybe reaching out to some other youth serving organizations, or maybe you already have a good idea through some of the partner organizations who could support youth that have an interest in putting a business together that we weren't able to fund. And I would say with the application, I don't think it's our place to pass on an application at all. I think it's our place to introduce youth to services that could support them. And then if they need the application, if they still don't have the application, they could come back to us and get it. But it has to, in my opinion, it has to be their initiative to then pass on that information to someone else. That's not something that we would do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense.
Okay, great.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. I think then we will move on to Mwanza if we have a representative here from Mwanza, as they are next on the agenda. I'm trying to see if... She mentioned she might not be able to be here.
Yeah, sure, she was unable to attend this meeting,
Okay. So then moving on to the next one on the agenda would be Accra. Do we have someone here from Accra? Doesn't.
So we're just waiting on Helen.
Sure, I think she has some. She says she has some microphone problems.
I just couldn't figure out the screen. Not Accra, but we're doing a lot of our things sort of collectively. So we'll just sort of give you a Ghana in general debrief. For the selection process, we did organize the selection into two hubs. We had a selection team in Accra as well as one in Tamale. We approached it so that we divided the applications up, but there was also an overlap in applications so that we could sort of compare averages in the end and see if there's any need for like a huge discrepancy between the marking in Accra and Tamale. And in the end, I think it was very minimal.
We were like, our averages were 0.5 off.
Yeah, so that was good. And they just used a scoring matrix. We divided it the way we divided it within the hubs, used two different methodologies to see which one would be best for next time. In Accra, we divided it, so we had 32 applications in general, and there was a lap of 8 between the hubs. So each hub received 20. And in Accra, we divided sort of 10 and 10, and then we divided the team up to discuss in the small groups and then review it, and then come back and present the applications to the larger group in general. In Tamale, we divided it not into groups, but to individuals, so that there's at least 2 readers and sometimes 3 per application, and then they sort of went through all of them as a big group together. And there were pros and cons of each. Yeah.
We updated them on this last time.
Yeah.
Last meeting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then coming up, or currently ongoing, is our accelerator workshop, which happened about 2 weeks after the selection. The finalists were selected. It's currently 5 days, and we have 7 facilitators in here, 3 of which are Hub Network members, and then 4 externally sourced. We have 2 that focus on sort of the financial aspect of things, one on marketing that we're sort of building a partnership with right now, and then who's the last one? And then one from, actually, so that's 4 Hub Network members, and then 3, because we have one from NYA. Yes. And yeah, they're ongoing. We are waiting to hear back on feedback from it. We have 13 participants here, and we flew the ones from Accra up here because there were 3 selected from Accra and the rest were from Tamale, just in terms of distribution of the applications. And yeah, we were wondering, just in terms of for the future for the accelerator workshop, if there would be some sort of curriculum or more detailed guidelines developed in terms of materials to be covered so that there's not a huge variation between countries. We know that was something we struggled with when we talked to facilitators, and they were not, I mean, they had the guidelines from the TORs, but they just sort of built off, and then it takes some time for them to make the slides and then us to review it. And some of the information they might have already covered in the curriculum or the workshops leading up to it. So we're just wondering if there's some sort of guidelines or more detailed ones in terms of what to expect across countries. And then we also had a question for everybody in terms of how your disbursement process works. It's something we're facing right now. So they selected the applications and then everyone has a score, and we're trying to figure out what's the best way to determine how much money to assign to which applicant. And we have the selection team members coming here, but we're not sure if they're supposed to have another sort of assessment or because they're not here throughout the entire workshop. So yeah. Is there anything to add? I don't know if that was clear.
No, that's
Yeah, no, it's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, just basically disbursement is the biggest challenge we're facing right now.
Yeah.
And what kind of tool we should build for that.
Yeah. Like, what are you guys doing?
Well, we had the same issue with us, and to be honest, I didn't mention this in our accelerator workshop, but I wished we had those decisions made for the accelerator workshop, so the participants that had won knew how much they were working with, right? I think a big shortcoming on our end was that the students still do not know how much they're actually getting from, even though they know they've won something. And an issue we saw, kind of the way the program is lined out, it's almost like a twofold system, because applicants are asking for a certain amount of funds, right? So depending on what they're striving for, anywhere from 500 to 2,000 Canadian dollars, but they're graded on kind of a top-down system, right? Where the best application theoretically gets the most money. Not really kind of
So that was
dependent
something
on,
that we were trying to question, because we also want to take into consideration the amount that they're actually requesting for. So it's not necessarily a ranking. Like, it was ranking to get them into the accelerator workshop, and now we're trying to see what's the best way so that it's not based solely on ranking. Because also, like, a lot of applicants ask for a lot more than they actually need. And I think the goal of the accelerator workshop originally when this was conceived was to try and fine tune, and it sort of comes to light exactly how much they would need for their business, right? So I don't know.
I don't have any answers either from this, and we are still struggling, I think, on, because that decision in Tanzania is being made at the country level, and we are definitely struggling a little bit with communication from the hubs to the country level.
Okay.
So
Do you want me to chime in on this one?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
go ahead, Christine.
I don't have a whole lot more to add, except for the fact that has everybody seen the financial like the disbursement guidelines?
Yes.
Okay. So that's what's required on our end in terms of like reporting and things like that. In terms of the amounts, I think the original thinking around this was that youth would have asked for a specific amount, and that would be sort of like conditionally. I think that we wanted the accelerator to as to kind of a little bit how much.
Oh no!
Look at how much.
We're losing you.
Oh, you're losing me, really?
Yeah, a little bit. Wait. It might be us. We're just
to the
internet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. So, yeah, I mean, the intent, and that's something that we should definitely debrief after this process to figure out probably a better way for the next round. But really, the idea was that, I mean, in theory, we could decide after the application round how much money each youth receives. but I never saw it as something that correlated with their score necessarily. I think it was more about what they were proposing and how strong their justification was for the amount of money they were asking for. And I think our sense was that that justification may not be clear until after the accelerator workshop.
Okay.
Sorry, oh, just was writing something. What?
Yeah, Christine, I hear you.
Yeah.
The issue that I saw with it is that you have a discrepancy between how you award, because first place is getting $2,000, right? Or is that up for
No,
debate
that's
as well?
that's not really the way that it's not really about like first, it's not really about ranking in that way. It's more like
Oh,
these are the amounts that are available from 500 to 2,000. What do youth like? For me, what's most important is that youth receive enough money to make it worthwhile to them in a way, right? It may be, you may have to make some challenging decisions depending on the allotment and how much is available versus how much youth are asking for, but it doesn't necessarily have to correlate with the score of the application. It has to correlate with the justification of youth saying, this is what I need the money for, this is what I'm going to spend it for, and this is why.
okay, perfect. Thank you. I think that adds some clarification on our end, at least in Zanzibar.
Yeah, and I don't know that that was necessarily clear in like what's been sent out so far. So I appreciate everyone bringing this to the table.
No problem. Thank you. Did we figure out then the, okay, Noah, your question was answered. Country manager. I guess, Ghana, did you guys have more you wanted to add?
I think we're good.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think we're for now.
Well, like, yeah, we'll
Sure.
hop back up if there's anything.
No problem.
We might have
No
questions
problem.
later on, but just digesting this and then brainstorming. Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess moving on then down the list, do we have anyone from, I guess that's Senegal, right? Dakar and St. Louis? St. Louis?
Yeah, so maybe I can talk for us, Dakar. So there's not a lot of new information from my end because the applicants were selected, I think, the beginning of July, and since then we've been like asking different experts to facilitate the accelerator workshop. Sorry, and we're still waiting from a response from one expert, and I guess we're gonna have his response like in the next few days. So I think the accelerator workshop is coming up very soon, so in more or less a week maybe. So I think for the next meeting on Skype, I'll let you know and give you more information. So that's it for the call.
Sure, no problem. Have you already had your selection committee?
Oh yeah. So the selection committee I think happened at the end of June, and they were selected at the beginning of July, and they were notified if they were selected or not, like I think July 3rd. And since then I've been working with my hub coordinator to find like experts and everything. It's been a bit complicated, and I think we're gonna have news very soon.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Thank you for giving your input. Do you know if anyone, can you speak for St. Louis as well, or?
Yeah.
I think Carl is there. Okay.
Okay,
you
perfect,
hear
thank you.
Yeah, you hear me? So it's
Yes.
quite the same as in Dakar. You know, we're still waiting for facilitators for the accelerator workshop, and yeah, the selection committee was in the beginning of July. Sorry. So yeah, it's pretty the same thing as in Dakar, and we are waiting to the accelerator workshop. Yeah.
Is that accelerator workshop happening from your country manager?
Yeah, and the hub coordinators. Yeah.
Coordinators, okay. Okay, so you don't, if I'm understanding correct, you don't have a date yet planned for that accelerator workshop?
No,
Yeah,
but it will. Yeah, but
I
it
know
will
we
be
don't
soon.
have dates.
Thanks, Skype.
And can I just ask, this is Christine, are you guys having one accelerator workshop or are you planning to have two?
We're planning on having two, but we're
Okay.
planning on having it's like I haven't had any confirmation yet, but I think we're gonna have the same experts. I'm really not sure because I haven't had the information about that yet. I'm waiting for the answer from the hub coordinator and the country manager.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, Senegal, you would to add? Before we move on?
That's good for my end. Yeah, that's good for me.
Thank you guys so much. Okay, then I think we're moving on to, oh man, is that Peru, huh? Lima. Anyone from Peru here? Either Chiclayo?
Hi.
or Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the hub in Chiclayo, but the procedures were pretty much the same for Lima and Chiclayo, so I can speak for both hubs. So right now, we just finished the selection process. So today, technically, we're supposed to announce the winners. The selection process was good. We had like hub network partners and like our partner organization, and also people from the team that reviewed the business plans. It wasn't perfect because like one person was only reviewing 2 or 3 business plans. So that made it so like the rankings were not the same for everyone. So some people gave really low scores to everyone, other people gave really high scores to everyone. So then when we did the averages, like some people ended up with really low scores, but maybe they shouldn't have been that low. So maybe that's gonna have to be reviewed a little bit for next round. Now, yeah, our accelerator workshop is gonna be in 2 or 3 weeks. It's gonna be on the weekend, so 4 days. We're gonna have 2 accelerator workshops, so 1 in each hub, because it was really too expensive to do it in the same city. We were basically spending all our money, and we spent the whole $10,000 to pay to outsource the development of the accelerator workshop. So it's kind of good because after we're gonna have a clear methodology that's gonna be developed by specialists in micro startups. I don't know how to say it in English. But at the same time, we don't have like any more money left to actually organize the accelerator workshop. So I was curious to know in the other hubs, how much money did you spend for the outsourcing, if you did outsource the development of the accelerator workshop? I don't know if you want to maybe write it down in the comments or.
I think for Zanzibar, yeah, wait, did we have? Yes, I think it was $10,000 for the country. I believe if someone wants to correct me on that, they're free to. But I think that's the number that we have.
Yes, it's 10,000 for the country.
Yeah, in Zanzibar and I think Mwanza, we spent about $5,000 on the outsourcing to the facilitator. I think it's per round, Helen. So in Zanzibar or Tanzania, we spent $5,000 approximately on the facilitator. I think the rest of the money was spent on the venue and I think providing food and those kind of things is roughly where my understanding is. If anyone else has anything that they can know those numbers from their accelerator workshop, now's the time to add those, please.
So I just learned we are well under budget. we flew the 3 participants up to Accra because it was more up from Accra because it was the most economic, and then we outsourced facilitators and provided a small honorarium for each session that they're doing, as well as food and then the venue. And we are at about 5,000 to 6,000 Canadian for this round. Yeah.
Well, that's always a good thing.
Yeah.
I guess. Mostly.
Hi, this is Christine. I know that just from having spoken to country managers and things, the costs vary across countries pretty dramatically. In some places, the logistics is a lot more expensive, and in other places, the bulk of the money is being spent on the facilitators. So again, it would be interesting to kind of dissect like what costs there were and how we can use that money most effectively going forward.
Yeah.
Perfect. And then one last thing that maybe I can mention, because I'm pretty sure, well, we might be the only one doing it like that, or I don't know, I haven't read the disbursements guidelines, but we're gonna give the money to youth in 2 disbursements. So they're gonna get like, I don't know exactly the percentages, but one first part of the money that we decide to give them at first, and then they're supposed to go through the like registration process. So their business is registered and they become formal, and then they should get the second part of the money.
Yeah, this is Christine again. With the disbursement guidelines that were set out, that is the recommendation, that there's two disbursements. And again, country managers and operation managers in country can decide from their own risk management perspective how they want to handle that. We're not really dictating how much needs to be provided in each round, but the idea is that we're not giving all the money up front.
Perfect. Sorry, I'm not sure what your name is in Chiclayo. I apologize.
Dominic.
That didn't come very well through Skype for me, but apologies. But oh, Dominique, okay. The question I had for you, you mentioned that you had maybe some discrepancies between kind of the ratings that were given during the selection process. My understanding was from your description that one person kind of graded 3 or 4 applications, which was different than from someone else's grading, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I could definitely see that being an issue. Possibly a way to alleviate that a little bit is to kind of weigh them all the same, right? To kind of almost put it on the ones they did grade on a sliding scale, so that presumably they had a good one and a bad one, and the other ones were in between, right? And to kind of value everyone, whether the inputs were high or whether their grades were low, kind of from different people, that you kind of equalize them a little bit. Just an option or an idea that came to me with the problem you described, but I'm sure you guys will have to figure that out too, according to the context.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. And we also, what we did after we got the scoring grid completed, we also had a meeting with all the judges on Skype, because they were split in between the 2 cities and our cities are pretty far away. But we had a Skype meeting with everyone, and then everyone was giving their comments. So then we all had a general idea of what was the feedback. So we could really see, like, not in numbers, but more qualitative, like, okay, this business plan was really well developed in general, or no, this business plan was really weak.
Okay, perfect. You're also able to take that into account then. Okay, perfect. Is that everything then from you, Dominique?
No, that's it for me. Thanks.
Okay, and you representing, I guess, do we have anyone from Lima here, or speak now or hold your peace?
The volunteer from Lima was unable to make this meeting as well.
Okay, thank you, Philson. No problem. I think we'll move on then to Bolivia, if we have someone here from Bolivia.
Yeah, hi, good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending where you are. Just quickly, I'm with Remy Grimad. It's my second last week here in Equip. My year placement's up. So Remy's going to be taking over the Innovation Fund and these Skype calls from this point forward. I just want to wish you the best of luck in everything forward. But today I'm with you guys, and we'll briefly recap what we've done so far in both La Paz and El Alto. We are now in the accelerator workshop phase. We finished the accelerator workshop for El Alto, and we are halfway through it for La Paz. How we organized it was, long story short, we found a group of Bolivian entrepreneurs called Techstars Bolivia, and they have helped us quite a bit with the mentorship phase and as well as the accelerator workshop phase. So we delegated the responsibility to them to run the workshop, the accelerator workshop. We were there to help organize, to help oversee everything. The material was relevant and everything was okay, if the students had any questions, etc. But they were in charge of facilitating the accelerator. We did it we did two separate workshops, one for El Alto, one for La Paz. The cities are right beside each other, but it just came down to the availability of the students. In El Alto, they had different availability than that of La Paz. So in El Alto's, their workshop was last week, and La Paz's workshop is this week. The workshop itself, we adapted. We have two things in our advantage. First of all, La Paz and Alto are cities right beside each other, as I've mentioned before, meaning the coordination is very easy to do. And B, this round, we only had a very small number of participants. We had 9 participants. So as a result, we were able to adapt called the methodology of the accelerated workshop, depending on the needs of the students themselves. So yes, we cover everything such as marketing, how to sell, publicity, finances, etc. But we tried to focus on the areas which were the weak points for the participants, which happened to be finances. Overall, it was quite successful. From my country manager, she was there the entire week. I was only there 2 of the 5 days. I'm talking about the Alto right now accelerator, because since we are in the middle of the La Paz accelerator, I can't give you a summary of how it went overall. In the El Alto accelerator, overall, we found that it really did help the students ground their ideas, let's say, because they did do the entrepreneurship course, they had their business plan, they had some mentorship, etc. But through those 5 intensive days, it really helped ground their ideas. A lot of ideas slightly changed. So through the accelerator workshop, they realized something wouldn't work out their idea, or they realized that they should add another component, making it more solidified, let's say, business, especially within the La Paz El Alto. Some problems we had were, again, the financial part is quite a big issue for our participants. They now do have a very strict, let's say, plan. They know how much they should spend, how much they need for startup costs, how much they need for operational costs, etc. But still, this idea of projecting revenues, projecting cash flows, it is a bit perhaps complicated, and it's something we do need to work on. And another issue we found is that the business plan we were using in depth for the amount solicited. So they're only going to get up to $2,500, which is quite a bit of money. But a lot of our students came with 15-page business plans. They spent a month doing it, and we found that it was quite complicated, and we were thinking of perhaps simplifying it for the future. Exactly how we would do this, we're not sure, because it was just an idea generated a few days ago when we talked about the results of the first round of the accelerator workshop, but it's just something that we've noticed. Regarding the disbursements, what happened is, so every student requested a certain amount in their business plan, and the disbursement was decided upon their performance, let's say, in the accelerator workshop. So they presented the project, they improved, etc. And at the end, our country director sat down with the organizers of the accelerator workshop, and they decided realistically, taking into account the startup costs and taking into account how, let's say, dedicated or how motivated the participant was, we adjusted the amount accordingly. But the biggest thing here is it's not the best business, it was just how much they needed for their legitimate startup cost. That amount is now proposed. I have it in another document, I don't have it with me right now. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Is there anything else I missed or no? Okay, if there's any questions, please, pardon me.
How did you evaluate?
Helen has.
So it's based on a decision of country staff facilitators?
Yeah, so essentially, it was based off exactly country staff and the facilitators of the workshop, exactly. They were the ones that ultimately decided how the disbursement would work. Again, depending on, they analyze speaking of startup cost exactly, and eligible startup cost, what is that each business needs? And they were granted, or they will be granted accordingly. We still haven't done the actual physical disbursements of funds, but we have the sheet, let's say, dedicating how much each project will get.
So no, if I'm understanding you correctly, when your students went through the accelerator workshop, they knew how much they had to work with.
No, they did. They proposed their amount initially in their business plan. They said, we want X amount, and we accepted their business plan based on that amount, but we informed them priorwards that the amount was subject to change depending on what the facilitators of the accelerated workshop thought, because ultimately we're quite short-staffed here in Bolivia, and our only person who has, let's say, expertise in entrepreneurship would be our operations manager. So we delegated this task to the Techstars Bolivia, which is this group of Bolivian entrepreneurs who ran the workshop, because realistically they know what it is to start a business here in Bolivia, and we don't have that same knowledge. So again, it wasn't strictly their decision. It was a hub decision, because as I said, our country director was involved in it, but they proposed based on their expertise how much they thought, pardon me, and for the most part we were in accordance and agreement.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for me.
Okay, and then just to sort of clarify again, so the country staff had a meeting with the facilitators to discuss their performance throughout the workshop, and then based on that decide whether or not to allocate the amount that was requested from the participants.
Yeah, I'll just clarify that. It was based on two things. Again, A, their startup cost, and B, their performance. So I'll give you an example. There was one project that they decided that 4,000 would be the startup cost, 4,000 Bolivianos, which is, I don't know, like 800 Canadian, something like this. But what did not come on the final day to show her prototype of her project. They did a lot of prototyping, like they'd go to the market and see if the prototype was legitimate and get client feedback, etc. But because she did not show up for that day, the facilitators of the workshop recommended that, listen, if she's not showing up for the prototyping, which is one of the most important days, we don't recommend that we give her the full 4,000 because it's a liability. So they cut that amount to 2,500 because she was not fully committed like she should be to the workshop. With that exception, it was based on the actual startup cost, and assuming that the participant was dedicated and came to the training, came to the prototyping, etc., there was no issue with that.
Okay, and how did you evaluate the performance? What criteria did you use? Oh. Hello?
Yeah, hi, sorry. No, I was just discussing with Remy. Again, I unfortunately, I was not able to be a part of this process, so I don't know. I can get this information from my country manager to see if they actually used like a certain evaluation matrix.
Yeah,
or
that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to check into that because I don't know what criteria they use to evaluate startup cost and the exact, let's say, disbursement for each project. So I will look into that and get back to you.
That would be amazing. Yeah, just because apparently we're supposed to make that decision by Friday. And we weren't sure whether we should be creating some sort of new assessment form for the performance or how to do that. That would be amazing. Thank you.
Right after this meeting, I'll talk to my country manager about it and get back to you. Helen, I have your email, so I can send it to you. Or I can put it on the group. There's a TIG platform page, right, for this group. So I can just can I upload things directly, or do I have to send it to Philson first, or?
Are you talking about the feedback document for the whole innovation process?
No, I'm just saying that if I find
practice.
right, there's various documents.
You can upload directly. Okay, perfect.
So after this meeting, I'll talk to my country manager and I will upload whatever documentation evaluation matrix we used for the accelerated workshop to the platform so that everyone has access to it, and maybe you guys can use it as a draft or as a base for your specific accelerated workshops.
I think that sounds great. Thank you for being willing to do that. So in the interest of time, we do have a couple of items at the end of this kind of update. So I think we'll move on to see if there's anyone from Indonesia here. I know it's pretty late for them. I'm not sure they usually attend.
Hello.
Okay, perfect.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. Okay, great. So hi, my name is John. I'm from the Surabaya Hub. Before I get started, I'd just sort of like to thank everybody for their input here. In Indonesia, we're sort of lagging a bit behind on these things, so it's been really helpful hearing what everybody's been doing, how they've been working on problems that have arisen, and it's just great allowing me to be aware of sort of what's coming down the pipe before it gets here. So thanks very much for that. As for where we are, the Surabaya Hub is we've gone through the business and financial workshops, and now we're waiting to receive the applications from the students. And so during that time, we're just helping them out. This evening, we had some students come, mostly with the financial side of things, it seems. And as for the Semarang, they haven't graduated a entrepreneurial class, so they're going to be joining us on the next round, and we'll have a larger round then. So as of now, it's just all happening in Surabaya. That's basically where we're at now. Not too far along, but moving forward pretty well, at least at this point.
Yeah, thank you, John, for that update. It's nice to hear, I think, at least from my perspective, and probably for others, that some of the sweats and maybe tears that we've experienced is helpful for you. And hopefully if you have any more questions or specific concerns of how to maybe approach some of these issues, that you can reach out to anyone on this committee as well to maybe also get more feedback. And I hope that extends to everybody, that they feel free to do that among the different hubs. If they, for example, between Ghana and Bolivia here, as we just heard.
I have a quick suggestion for Indonesia, just so you don't have to. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna suggest try to get your facilitators ASAP, because that was something we had difficulties with, and then we had facilitators canceling, and it was a scramble sort of after the selection process happened. So yeah, do it before. Don't be like us.
Yeah, thanks very much. Just hearing about how everybody's workshops have gone, accelerators have gone, it sort of keyed me into the fact that the massive importance of the facilitators. So that'll definitely be one of the next things that we're getting on top of. The one problem or issue that we've had so far is just there's been a lot of technical questions about the financial worksheets. And I do have a bit of background in that, but on the sheet sort of, I don't know, just moves around a lot. So I'm not sure where I can go for technical questions on some of that stuff.
I may be stepping in for someone here, but I believe, Helen, you were the one who kind of spearheaded the creation of the financial portion. I believe, I could be off on that.
Yep, and I'm happy to have a chat with you if you want to go over some stuff for the sheets themselves.
Yeah, that would be wonderful if we could set a time for that in the next few days.
For sure. Do you have my email? We should have.
Yeah, if not myself, then my office manager, I'm sure will.
Okay, so in the interest of this, just getting this through the agenda, yes, thank you, Helen. You guys, can connect afterwards. So thank you everyone for giving your progress update on the IF. Hopefully, there's some banging outside of my window. I apologize for that. Nothing I can do right now. But just in the last 10 minutes, I kind of want to go over the next two items. And I'm going to switch the order here quickly because I think the global implementation team feedback document will be kind of more of a shorter thing. This document is on the COP, and it hasn't been getting a lot of attention. I admit I myself have not really put the effort I need to into it. But if you have if you have the COP up, I think it's like the 5th document down on the resources in the Innovation Fund folder. It's called Feedback Document on Implementation. If you open it up, it's a well-organized template for us to give qualitative feedback on the Innovation Fund and broken down into sections. Some hubs have been rather studious of filling it out. Some of us maybe didn't even know much about this document. But I think something we decided to really emphasize for this meeting would be if we could all try to have a more concentrated effort to fill this document out for next meeting. And And if you have any questions or concerns or where, yeah, okay, thank you, Philson, for posting it there. It is in the COP, but I think this will be really helpful for all of us, and really between hubs to get some information too on how things developed at other hubs, right? Obviously, these meetings that we're doing can kind of give live updates, but sometimes things get lost. This document here would be really a critical document for all of us to use, not only for this round, if you're kind of behind some of the other hubs, but also for you to have a good record sheet for next round, a reference area for the next volunteers or for you who are around for the next Innovation Fund, to be able to reference this, see things that worked, see things that didn't. So we highly encourage you to fill this out up to date for next meeting. Any questions on that or any concerns? If you have any questions on where to find it, I mean, feel free to email me or Philson, and we'd be more than happy to help you find that document. So if there's no comments on that, I will move on to the third item, which is, I guess, on the agenda is the second item. This is the implementation working group was kind of the ad hoc name we came up with from the group that split off the last meeting to try and create some documents or some templates for some revision or some record keeping for the Innovation Fund. Something that this group worked on was a document called the application revision form. And we would like everyone to look at this document and give us feedback on what you think, maybe ask questions. We don't really have much time in this meeting, but I'm not quite sure. I would love to hear maybe some input from Christine or anyone else who was involved in the document of the best way we can hear feedback from the whole Git group. I guess before we do that, that form is also in the COP. I think it's the latest document added by myself called the application revision form. If you open it up, I can't seem to find it in my various tabs right now. Of course. It kind of just gives some clear, hopefully clear instructions on what we're asking for. Just to give a gist, it's asking for each hub to go through an application form and kind of grade each question or prompt on the criterias. And there's some helpful prompts to give you, okay, what are we looking for exactly, or what you could be asking yourselves as you're trying to grade this question. And this is just to give some feedback from the hubs. You know, we're across the world, different situations, and we just try to make this document as helpful and as useful as possible. I know it's kind of thrown a lot at you in the last couple minutes here. Any questions at this point, either regarding where to even find the document, or if you have a chance to look it over? I guess maybe my default recommendation would be, well, we should look at this, give everyone a chance to look at this document, and we would like to hear feedback in the next meeting. That meeting, however, is 2 weeks out, so I'm maybe a little bit concerned for time. I'm not sure if there's any real alternative to that approach at this point.
Hi, everyone. I do have to get going. I have another meeting at 10. It's Christine. But for the feedback, why don't we ask everyone to feed into this document within the next week, and then we can incorporate any changes for the next meeting in 2 weeks. And I think maybe the easiest way to feed back is to use the community of practice. I don't know exactly what the best mechanism would be, but if we can create like a discussion thread or something, if people can just give their general feedback, I think that would be helpful. Does that work for people?
That sounds like a good system for me. I'm not too familiar with the COP, how the infrastructure works there, but I'm sure that can be arranged, maybe with someone who's an expert on that.
I'm sure Phil Sen can help us out.
Yeah, definitely. We can start a
I don't think it's
discussion
that
group.
hard.
Okay, perfect. So perfect. I think then that in wrapping up this meeting then, those are kind of maybe two assignments we have kind of looking out, right? Keep doing your good work on the Innovation Fund process. We ask you to fill out up to date on that feedback document in the COP. Just kind of qualitative comments that you think will be useful for next round and for other hubs. And then the second thing is to really kind of give some feedback and some input, and also, I guess, first review this Youth Innovation Fund application revision form, because we don't want to just send out another document that, is not really useful and just more administrative work for everyone to do. An option would be this would be an opt-in situation as well. Like the hubs aren't necessarily forced to fill this document out or give feedback in this form, but the idea is just to make this as inclusive as possible and to allow for hubs and individuals to give their input and their feedback.
I have one more comment. I think maybe it would be helpful, Mirko, if you could send an email to the whole group, just briefly summarizing this part of the discussion, because not everybody was on the call, and just explain the purpose, like just so that it's all in writing, like explain the purpose of the document, the fact that it's optional, and that we would like to hear comments on the COP.
Absolutely, I think that'll be
with the
more than
desk.
appropriate. Yeah. With this, you're suggesting sending this out to everybody who would potentially be in this meeting. Is that correct?
Yeah, whoever's on the list right now for the global implementation team.
Okay. Yes, I can do that. I will do that tomorrow.
Awesome.
And we'll set. I guess so. The date would be next week, next Tuesday. We'll ask for everyone's input by next Tuesday.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
And I have one more quick announcement to everyone who is on this call. I am hoping to do a little bit of research with youth that's sort of using human-centered design tools in the next little bit. So if anybody's interested in supporting me in doing that, if you could send me an email or let me know somehow, we can connect on that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Christine. So then just in wrapping up this meeting, I think the next meeting, just going to the meeting tasks, Philson asked me to just in this meeting assign the next facilitator. We thought the best way to do that would just be going down the list. I believe Zanzibar, Mwanza, Accra, and Tamale have all facilitated or had the opportunity to facilitate. If you want to interject, you can